Hi, Julie Rader here, talking about the Gemini full moon happening on December 18th or 19th, depending where you are in the world. For us here, Pacific time zone, it's on the 18th at 8:35 p.m. And so adjust for your time zone. And it happens at 27 degrees Gemini. So this is really, really important. And we're going to dive in. And just a reminder, if you like this video, please like it, share it with anyone you feel could benefit from this information, because it's really my intention to get this information out so that people know how to work best with this energy. So 27 degrees of Gemini. It's really this full moon is really interesting because anytime there's a full moon, you have the full moon on one side of the sky and completely opposite is the sun, and that's what makes it a full moon. However, at the time of this full moon at 27 degrees, the sun in Sagittarius will be on what is called the galactic center. Now, the galactic center is really an expansive center of awareness, opening our consciousness. So when we have a full moon that is really highlighting this energy, we have the ability to expand in ways that maybe we haven't been able to before. And because it's a Gemini full moon, and we're just in Gemini, the North Node, which is our true destiny, where we're headed in life, it has been transiting through Gemini, and it's at 0 degrees because the nodes move backwards. So it is getting ready to go into Taurus, where then for the next 18 months, we will have the North Node in Taurus, the South Node in Scorpio, and that's where the eclipses are going to be for the next 18 months. We just finished the 18-month cycle of Gemini and Sagittarius. So this full moons are culmination. They really bring to light anything that we need to take a look at. So really anything that's been happening in our lives over the last 18 months will really be highlighted at this full moon. I really feel this full moon is one of deep healing and really diving inward. The reason I believe that is because at the same time, this Gemini full moon, the ruler of Gemini is Mercury. Mercury and Capricorn will be forming a square to Chiron and Aries. So Mercury is all about communication, just like Gemini. And Chiron is about healing. So when Mercury is square to Chiron, we will be asked to, and Chiron is retrograde. So we're looking inward at maybe past wounds that we have, or things that we've internalized, and it's time to speak our truth, for instance. This full moon in Gemini will be square to Neptune, which could be on the lower octave, bringing some more fogginess, maybe some things coming to light that aren't actually true. On the higher octave, Neptune is very spiritual. It forces us to look at our subconscious mind, really trust our intuition. And any square is, excuse me. It's interesting. My first yoga teacher, Shakti Ma, used to always say, and she is this beautiful Israeli woman, used to say, I don't know why you here in North America always say bless you when somebody sneezes. You should be saying congratulations, because it's the ultimate release. So anyway, but I always feel like when I'm sneezing, that point is really meant to be made. So with Neptune, with the square to Neptune, it is asking us to do the work, to rather than hide away or check out, we're being asked to check in, which is a theme that is going to be ongoing into the new year, and especially as we approach the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction at the end of April. So this full moon, I believe, is kind of starting us on that path of, okay, how are we going to deal with our past wounds? Are we going to check out? Are we going to numb out? Or are we going to go inward? Are we going to go inward? And perhaps even when we have some clarity, maybe speak up about our past wounds so that we can help others, so that we can maybe even have a conversation of closure or even forgiveness with those who have hurt us. 6 hours after the full moon, we will have Venus retrograde, which Venus, we have Venus going retrograde, where she will be retrograde until the end of January. And she is 2 degrees away from Pluto. So Venus, being she was conjunct Pluto on the 11th, and then she will be conjunct Pluto again on Christmas Day, and then again early January. So it's really, really interesting because this Venus retrograde energy, again, any time planets are retrograde, we are forced to go inward rather than expressing the characteristics of that planet outwardly. So when Venus is going retrograde conjunct Pluto, it is a time of big, deep transformation at this full moon. And we are really, really being forced to take a look at it. Especially because, again, the moon is opposing the galactic center. There is so much about deep healing at this full moon that we are really being asked to look at. And back real quick with Mercury square Chiron. Chiron will be going is about to go direct this in a day or two after, I believe it's the very next day that Chiron will be going direct. So its last aspect, I believe that's the last aspect it makes, is that Mercury square to Chiron. Mercury square to it. So we're really being asked to go inward, do the healing. We also, at this full moon, we have Mars in Sagittarius at 0 degrees. It had 4 degrees. It had just entered Sagittarius, opposing the North Node in Gemini at 0 degrees. So we have this opposition, Mars in Sag, North Node in Gemini, Sun in Sag, Moon in Gemini. There's a lot of this completion of what has come up the last 18 months. What has come up? What do we need to look at? And where can we have final closure, final healing so that we can move on? Now looking at the full moon through the signs. So look at your rising sign and your sun sign, as well as your moon sign, because it is a full moon. And the moon, and this will give you a really big picture view. If you don't know your rising or your moon, just listen for your sun sign. But if you find your time of birth, you can just go on something like astro.com, pull up a chart. AC will be your ascendant, that's your rising and your moon, and it will give you a lot more information. Also, I'm available for reading, so reach out to me too if you'd like a personal reading. So Aries, this Gemini full moon the moon will be in your 3rd house. It's shining a light on your 3rd house. 3rd house is communication. It is everything Gemini. It's the Gemini house. So perhaps looking at social media, it also has to do with your neighbors, your neighborhood. Maybe something over the last 18 months has had you really looking and saying, one, maybe there's a project that is ready to be completed or that you're ready to put out into the world. Maybe you're looking at your neighbors or your neighborhood and you're realizing that maybe you need to change there. Or because it is Gemini, you could hear some news, some information about a neighbor or even a sibling. Taurus, this happening in your 2nd house. This is your house, the house of money, the house of worth, and also the house of food, what you put into your body. So this full moon is shining a light on all of these areas. And because it is Gemini, you're being asked to do a little more, if it's with finances, if you've been kind of just going along and not really balancing your checkbook or keeping an eye on where you're spending money, this full moon could make it really clear that you need to put some systems in place. Maybe starting with QuickBooks or something along that line, on those lines, looking at your worth. And if you are in a job situation, maybe with it being Gemini, maybe it's time to ask for a raise. Also, being aware of what you put into your body food wise, that is also second house. So it's shining a light on all of these areas. And it's really important that you get these systems in place, Taurus, because the next 18 months are going to be big for you, because the nodal axes then will be in Taurus and Scorpio. Gemini, this is happening. This is your full moon. I have a feeling you've maybe gone through a lot of transformation these last 18 months with the nodes being in Gemini and Sagittarius. So really looking at your life path. What has happened over the last 18 months that has forced you to maybe change direction or to change your aspirations? It is a time to really release the old and look and gain clarity on what paths are opening up for you. What is your next step? What makes the most sense for you to do next? That really is what this full moon is all about. How are you going to step out and be a new, rebranded version of yourself? Cancer, this is happening in your 12th house. Cancer, you feel every new and full moon more than anyone, as far as every moon, because the moon is your ruler. When it is in your 12th house, you are really delving inward even more, which you do quite naturally. You go inward a lot. You don't always express what's inward outwardly. And this full moon is going to be the same. 12th house is the house of going inward. It's the house of retreat. It is the house of dreams, the subconscious mind. You may feel at this full moon like being really introverted. You may not feel like being out amongst people, and that's okay. I encourage you to go inward and write down what you're doing. Maybe do some stream of consciousness journaling. Get it out on paper. You don't have to share it with anyone, but take a look at it. Keep a dream journal as well. Around this full moon, I have a feeling your dreams are going to be that much more telling of what is actually going on subconsciously. They will reveal quite a lot. Leo, this is happening in your 11th house. Leo, 11th house is friends. It is the house of your goals, the people that you spend time with. You may gain some clarity. Maybe you've been gaining clarity over the last 18 months anyway. If you've been wanting to get out there and connect with a different group of people, whether it's friendships or career-wise, this full moon will really shine a light on it. Also, 11th house is your dreams, it's your ambitions. So this will really be relevant as well, especially as we're going into the new year, looking and saying, okay, what has changed over the last 18 months? What am I willing to release? If there have been friendships that maybe you've outgrown and there have been some wounds, maybe it's time to have a conversation to where there can be forgiveness and moving on from it, or perhaps it is time to actually move on and heal and release the groups that are no longer supporting you on your new path. Virgo, this full moon is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house is your house of career and public recognition. This is the house you love, Virgo. So you love it because career, you are perhaps one of, if not the hardest working sign in the zodiac. So you could actually receive some recognition this full moon. So enjoy it. You deserve it. Libra, this is happening in your 9th house. This full moon is all about also what path are you on? Is it for your highest purpose? Is there an element of spirituality to it? looking at that. Perhaps you're looking and maybe it's time that you realize you really do want to get out and travel some and see the world. And maybe you're actually able to do that depending on where you are and what your status is in the world with everything going on. But that may come up for you too, or relocation. This full moon could have you realizing it is time to relocate. That maybe this last 18 months, it's become really clear that you're ready for new surroundings. Scorpio, this is happening in your 8th house. So this is your house. This is the house you are extremely familiar with. It's the house of the occult. It's the house of deep psychological digging. You do this better than any sign in the zodiac. This full moon could also be, in some cases, maybe you find out you're pregnant or you become pregnant, you conceive on this full moon. Either way, it is really about going inward. There might be some secrets that are revealed with that square to Neptune. Wait to you do your Sherlock Holmes thing. You are so good at digging and finding the information. So rather than jumping to conclusions, do your research. Because of the square to Neptune, there could be something that you hear that actually may not be the case. So be aware of that. But with all this Chiron, all this other stuff, Mercury and Capricorn, trine Uranus, which I haven't talked about before, there might be some unexpected things that come up. But for you, this really could be a lot about transformation as we're getting ready to move into the next 18 months where you and Taurus are going to be going through a lot of changes as the nodes move through your house, through your sign. Sagittarius, this is happening in your 7th house, the house of relationships, also the house of contracts. Huge light is being shined on relationships. It doesn't always have to be romantic. It could be business as well, or contractual agreements. Maybe something over the last 18 months has come up for you and you've gained some clarity. Maybe this full moon, because of this Mercury square Chiron, you may also be looking at, okay, where have I been wounded in the past? Why am I not allowing relationships in? You may gain some clarity on that as well. And while Venus is retrograde, you may really be going inward and doing some deep work so that you can be open for a healthy relationship, healthy and fulfilling. Capricorn, this is happening in your 6th house, the house of health and work. So shining a light on these areas. Maybe some things have come up over the last 18 months for you as well, with work or with your day-to-day routines or with your health. And this full moon is shining a light on, okay, especially with Mercury in your sign trine to Uranus, there could be something that comes up that makes you realize that it's time for you to get back on track with your old health routines. Venus is in your sign and going retrograde in your sign conjunct Pluto just hours after this full moon, about 6 hours later. So you really are asked to go inward, to do some deep digging. Where can you make the changes so that your work life, your health life, your day-to-day routines are more harmonious and healthy? Aquarius, this is happening in your 5th house. This full moon is shining a light on your 5th house. It has everything to do with pleasure, joy, romance, has to do also with children or you even becoming more childlike. Over the last 18 months, as the North Node has been moving through this house for you, you may be gaining a lot of clarity in these areas. Maybe you've been wondering, do I want to have children? How can I allow more joy or romance into my life? And as this full moon is shining a light on that, opposing the galactic center, you're really doing some deep work and saying, okay, what decisions am I going to make in these areas? Do I want children? Do I not want children? Or how can I allow more fun into my life? And these are all things, or romance. And doing some deep digging, look beneath the surface and Find out what is there. Why are you not allowing joy? Why are you not allowing yourself to be more childlike? And this full moon could really shine a light on it. And there could be some past wounds from childhood too that maybe you need to write, journal about, or have a conversation with somebody so you can move beyond it. And Pisces, last but certainly not least, we are feeling this in the fourth house. So, fourth house is all about home and family. This full moon is shining a light on the home and family. Maybe the last 18 months, as the North Node has been transiting through our fourth house, maybe we're really looking at, okay, is there a change we want to make in our home? Do we want to move somewhere else? Maybe there's an addition we want to have to the home. Really looking at home and family, and then opposing it is the sun in on the galactic center in Sagittarius. So really going in, Pisces, you better than any sign know how to dive into the subconscious and the unconscious. Do so in a way where you gain clarity. And that way, with this moon squaring Neptune, and that this full moon is squaring Pisces, especially if you're anywhere between 23 to 30 degrees of last, or your birthday's toward the end of the Pisces season. You really, it's important that you do some kind of spiritual practice so that you tap into the higher realm of Neptune, as opposed to maybe there's some confusion or fogginess that comes with it. Also, remember that we are moving closer and closer to this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces in April. Jupiter and Neptune are both the ruling planets of of Pisces. And Jupiter at the very end of this month is going to be moving back into Pisces. So really start thinking big, dreaming big, blue sky it. What do you want? What do you want for your home? What do you want for your family life? And then just believe it to be true. Dream it, daydream it into being, like you are so good at doing, Pisces. Well, I hope this was really helpful. Remember to do the healing work. There is some healing that is coming up, that is coming to the surface, so that we can move beyond it, all of us. And thanks again for tuning in. So subscribe to the channel if you would. It will help me grow the channel so I can keep creating content for you. Thanks. Bye.